The first ever meeting at international level between Latvia and Spain. World Cup action live and exclusive for you from Riga, Latvia in this Group 3 match tonight between Latvia and Spain. Hello and welcome. World Cup special for you here on Screen Sport. Group 3 action tonight coming to you live from the Daugava Stadium here in Riga. It's Latvia taking on Spain. Latvia still looking for their first win in Group 3. 6 nations involved. 2 will qualify for the 1994 World Cup finals. Spain have been to the last 4. There's been action all over Europe tonight in Group 4. An early result for you. The Czechs have beaten the Faroe Islands by 4-0. 3 in the final 5 minutes there. The Faroe Islands not going down without a fight. But tonight we focus in on that Group 3 game between Latvia, bottom of the group pre-kickoff, just 1 point from there, taking both points. So the 2 sides are out on the pitch, and alongside me in the commentary position we have for you tonight to enjoy this game and help us along Martin O'Neill from the Republic of Ireland, 64 caps. You know all about their second match in Group 3 as they look for qualification from a group, as we said, Martin, that includes the Republic of Ireland and Northern Ireland, but Spain have to be one of the favourites to go through here.
I would have thought so, yes. You could nearly make it between 3 teams. It's Spain, any two from 3, Spain, Denmark and the Republic of Ireland. My old team, Northern Ireland, dropped a very, very bad point in Belfast against Lithuania. So that was important. They lost that one, and as we're listening to the national anthems there, we'll just maybe go back to that point, Phil.
So there we have the formalities over with. The Latvian side showing just 1 change from the team we saw here, holding Denmark to that 0-0 result. And it comes with the inclusion of the number 9 Bulders to do a marking job tonight on the Spanish danger man up front, probably Fonseca under trainer Janis Gillis. 1 change from the side that held Denmark, but 4 changes from the team that went down by 4-0 in Dublin against the Republic of Ireland, and a rampant John Aldridge who got a hat-trick in that game. Spain, second match in charge for new trainer Javier Clemente, and very much a new look side as well. There's a lot of youth about the defence. Zubizarreta at 30, but in front of him 4 players with just 15 caps between them: Ferrer, Tony, Salathabal and Lopez. And very interestingly indeed as well, that side contains no representative from Real Madrid, and that's the first time that has happened at international level in Spain for 40 years. No man from Real Madrid. Hard to believe, but the Spanish in their traditional red shirts and blue shorts lining up for this game with a wealth of experience. Really big-time players playing, of course, in the Spanish league. Surely must have too much firepower about them for the plucky Latvians. The Latvian game plan is simple: defend in numbers and hope to nick something on the break. Experienced keeper Karavayev. They have a couple of players who pursue their career outside of the domestic scene. Most of the players drawn from the 2 major club sides in Latvia. I suppose, Martin, the one real difference, the Latvians, having newly established independence, will play with real fire in the bellies, and Spain always underachievers at international level because of factionalism within the country.
Yes, they're certainly underachievers. I don't think that they've qualified for the last 4 of a World Cup competition ever, and that seems very surprising for the amount of ability they have. But I think that they will be just happy to win this game, get this game over with, win the match. It might not be all that pretty for them. They'll expect to win this game, they'll want to win it, and it's 2 points away from home, and that's the way that they will be looking at it.
Underway in the first period then, Spain playing from right to left. Salathabal playing one forward, looking to get Fonseca going, the man whose goal killed off England in Santander, of course, a couple of weeks ago. Hard really to see the Spaniards missing Michel this evening, because they do have such a galaxy of star players, and surely with their professional attitude and setup down in Spain, they must be favourites to win this one. That's what we said, of course, before the Danes took the field to surprise us all as Latvia nicked a draw there. The referee tonight is Roger Filippi from Luxembourg, along with his 2 linesmen. The first corner comes after 45 seconds play to the Spaniards on this near side, swung in by the Valencia player Alvaro. And behind for another corner immediately from central defender Gnedos. One thing we noticed in that Denmark match, Martin, and I'm sure it was the same in Dublin, the Latvian side very naive in defence, particularly in the early stages.
I think that you're absolutely right, Phil, that they will defend in numbers for a start. They'll hope that after 20 minutes in the game they're still sitting at 0-0, because their confidence will certainly be up from that. It's important that they try and nullify anything that Spain are going to throw at them very early on. Spain will have a little look at the pitch, and while it seems on the surface a wee bit bumpy, I think a wee bit brown in patches, I think that Spain will just have to accept that this is what it's going to be like. This is a World Cup game, and they've got to throw in everything into it.
Well, the Spanish press always so quick to vilify and criticise teams who have failed under successive managers to really make waves at the highest level, and now it's the turn of that man. Much travelled 42-year-old genial figure of Javier Clemente. Success for him at Athletic Bilbao, most notably Atletico Madrid. And now it's his turn to try and blend what has often been a brilliant collective sum into something that gels into an international unit to take on the best in the world and beat them. A few goals tonight would do his cause some good and confidence as well in the Spanish camp. Let's hope we get them. At the moment, the Latvians hardly able to get a feel of the ball. Tony, the attacking fullback, in with a decisive header, but a throw-in to the Latvians down beneath us on halfway. Well, they've played just one international, Martin, since regaining independence. They've played 8 games and won just the solitary one against neighbours Estonia in the Baltic Cup. And clearly for them, this is all a new experience.
All a big rebuilding process here. Rebuilding, just building from the start, I suppose. But so anything that they get out of this game, other than a severe beating, will probably be good news for them. I think from Spain's viewpoint, as we look across at the game, the crowd or lack of crowd will help Spain, because that's the last thing they want, is to see a full house here cheering Latvia on. And they'll be pleased. It's nearly enough play behind closed doors. Whatever sort of noise will eventually subside, and Spain can get on with their game. They're just getting a few passes together, getting a little bit of confidence, and you would expect Spain to be able to turn Latvia over. And we've said that often before, and been proved mightily wrong.
Well, commentators more experienced than us, Martin, said that before the Faroe Islands took on Austria a couple of years ago. That result, on paper, a formality, and Austria probably went down to defeat by 1-0.
Funnily enough, if there was any team in Europe at that stage that were capable of being beaten by a minnow, it was Austria.
First shot coming in of the night, and no need for keeper Karavayev to worry about that long-range effort from Martin Vasquez, the man who's wandered away from Real via Torino and now wears the colours from this season of Olympique Marseille. Certainly look for him getting forward to support the front two. And they've brought Goycochea into the side tonight from the beginning, a wide player, genuine wide man. 2 years ago, Barcelona's player of the season. And here he is on the far side with a cross that's deep and beyond the 18-yard line. The Latvians can clear their lines with some comfort and trying to get Glazov away down this near side touchline. The number 11 is outthought and outfought by Tony. Karavayev plays with the MTK club in Belgrade. They've just begun their season. But most of the home-based players are well into their campaign in Latvia. They played through the summer months. Javier Clemente, of course, has just seen the Spanish season get underway. A couple of games gone in their season, so the Spaniards perhaps not quite at full match fitness, and that header looping into the arms of the Latvian keeper. Their defence got stronger as the game went on against Denmark. They really had no answer to Jack Charlton's troops in Dublin in their last World Cup game. But that very much a result, I think, Martin, of Jack's tactics. He knew that the long ball game and the pressure game would be the undoing of the Latvians, and that's exactly how it turned out.
Well, since Jack's taken over there, Phil, with the Republic of Ireland, not too many teams win in Dublin. They know what they're under immediate pressure. Jack has implemented the long ball. That's fine, but he also has some very, very fine players when they can get it down to play it. So he's got a wee bit of a mixture there. And Latvia would not be happy playing in a full house at Lansdowne Road, or against a full house at Lansdowne Road, and with Ireland desperate for the points. They led 1-0 at the time, and it looked as if that's what would happen, but 3 more goals late on in the second half for Jackie's team did the business.
Well, looking as if Baquero is playing a very forward role this evening alongside Fonseca. 2 players from opposite sides of the same city. Fonseca moving from Valladolid in the summer to Espanyol. And Baquero, of course, as we know, now a permanent fixture at Barcelona, the league champions. And a touch from the keeper almost into the path of Baquero, who nearly poaches the opening goal. And Fonseca it was coming in as the keeper failed to hold that long-range effort from Tony. Going down to his left-hand side and almost presenting the Spaniards there with an early goal. Now the player down is Shivlikov. And as the move developed, we can see once again this effort from the fullback. He'd seen a lot of the ball early on, Tony, and that almost produced the opening goal for Spain. Yeah,
I thought the goalkeeper has eventually made a bit of a meal of it. It's a good shot. It's from outside the penalty box. He could see it pretty clearly, and he's gone down reasonably late. And he's caused an injury there to Shivlikov because he hadn't held onto the ball. But it's important now. That's the first real sign that Spain are getting into the game. Good shot. They weren't closed down, and almost the first goal for them.
And it was indeed, as we first thought, Baquero who almost snaffled up that half chance on the 6-yard line. So Baquero playing very much as a front man with Fonseca. The wide men for Spain tonight then, Alvaro, the number 11, and Goicoechea, the number 7. So a very attack-minded formation from Javier Clemente, which has to be the sensible choice, because back home he knows the Spanish press would expect nothing more than a resounding victory from this game. First chance for Latvia to come forward in some numbers into the path of Linarts, and he was offside. Linarts, the only Latvian player who's scored in their World Cup campaign so far, that in the 2-1 defeat against Lithuania. Of the 3 Baltic nations, without doubt Lithuania are going to be the strongest of the 3, and Latvia perhaps the make-weights in this group. We'll be hoping for success, certainly with the Republic of Ireland and Spain. And what about Northern Ireland's chances, Martin, in this group as well?
Well, they're capable of causing shocks, and a few years ago Northern Ireland would be expected to do reasonably well in a group of this nature. But I think they're capable of causing shocks, especially at Windsor Park, but I honestly don't think that they would be strong enough to contend the 2 positions. And that early result, as I mentioned, in Belfast against Lithuania, it was important that Northern Ireland could get off to a good start. They were 2-0 up, and they lost the lead. They end up drawing 2 each. It may turn out to be a half-decent result, we don't know, but if you're going to do anything in the World Cup, we all say win your home games anyway, and anything that you get away from home is probably a bit of a bonus.
Well, we can't accuse any of the players of being camera shy, because in the opening 10 minutes all the play down this near side Glasov, the number 11 in the white shirts of Latvia, trying to get something going for his side. But at the moment, we have a player down. That looks like Vizcaino. It is. And the player about to be booked for bringing him down is the number 9, Roland Bulders. First booking then, coming in quickly from Roger Filippi of the Luxembourg. And for a foul on Vizcaino, yellow card against the name of Bulders. He's a real rough and ready character, Martin. Came into the side for that last game in Dublin to do a marking job, in particular on Niall Quinn.
Obviously didn't do it all that cleverly, with the result being 4-0. But just going to mention to you, Phil, that was if that's the first booking, if we're going to go on statistics, and that was the first booking, and I think there's only been about 3 fouls here, we're going to be in for a very interesting evening in terms of bookings.
Well, I've been playing just over 10 minutes in the first period. If you have just joined us, you're watching live and exclusive World Cup action on Screen Sport. The match in Group 3 tonight between Latvia and Spain. And at this moment, Spain lining up their third corner of the game, swung in by Alvaro. Vizcaino, as he does for his club side, picking up the pieces around the 18-yard line. Plays just behind Futre and Manolo for his club, who were drubbed 4-1 at the weekend by Barcelona. You may have enjoyed that with us here on Sunday night. But very interesting indeed, perhaps a sign of the times, that Clemente should choose no player from Real. He's been denied a couple through injury, Martin. Hierro, Butragueño missing. But the last time that Spain fielded an international side without anybody from Real 40 years ago, that really tells you something.
It's almost unheard of, but I think you're absolutely right, Phil. I think it is the sign of the times that good players, that there are a number of good players playing all over the country now. And I think Clemente, in one aspect, will be reasonably pleased about that. Some time ago that you would be talking about Barcelona and Real Madrid and looking for the rest of them. Now suddenly Atletico Madrid players can come into the reckoning, and I think he'll be reasonably pleased. And I think perhaps it might be good for Spanish football in particular.
Perhaps some level of bias against Clemente. 4 members of the side tonight from his ex-club Atletico, and it's a free kick to Spain towards the head of Baquero. He's being picked up by Gnedos. Remarkable player, Baquero. He's so often really giving 3 or 4 inches to big defenders against him in the league week in and week out, but scores some fabulous goals with the head. And a snapshot on the volley. Not too far away. Baquero it was who laid it off as the Latvians concede possession. But I wouldn't be surprised if that man there in the number 9 jersey doesn't get on the end of a cross tonight with his head.
You've got a lot of time for him, haven't you, Phil? Before we come on air, you were talking about him. And I have got to say that I have never been totally and utterly convinced about his ability. I didn't think he was up there with the world-class players. Having said that, he's won almost every single honour. Barcelona ended up winning the European Cup last year, and he had a significant part to play in that. So perhaps maybe I'm slowly changing my mind about him.
Well, he's winning his 19th cap tonight, and at 29 perhaps might have expected more than that in the locker. We'll see how his role develops this evening in this game. Latvia, to remind you, in the white shirts and the maroon shorts, with possession on the halfway line. Coming forward with midfield man Ivanov. But they're so lightweight up front. The manager has made it quite clear. We need to defend in depth, keep our shape, retain organisation, and hope that we can catch the Spaniards cold on the break. They do have a young defence in front of Zubizarreta. I hesitate to call him the old man of the side, but at 30 he is the oldest member and has been around the international scene for quite some time now. So 15 minutes gone in the first half, and Latvia nil, no surprise there. Spain with most of the possession, all the attacking ideas, still waiting for the first goal of this qualifying game in Group 3. The long road to the United States here tonight in Riga, and it's coming to you live on Screen Sport. It does almost become a cliche, Martin, to say these days there are no easy games in international football, and it certainly won't be easy for Spain this evening.
It certainly will not, Phil. They've had a look at the pitch. I'm certainly not too happy about it in terms of international standard. Balls bobbling all over the place, and they will feel today that this is just a game that they have to win. They have to win by whatever way they can. There might not be an awful lot of pretty football played. They're trying to get a little bit of a pattern going themselves. At the minute, all the football's being played by them, but eventually that won't worry them too much if they can come away from this one here with a 1-0 win.
And can Goykacher keep it in play on the far side? Yes, he can, but can't get the better of Ivanov and Alexeyenko between them, the captain. Snuff out the danger. The ball with Latvia in midfield. Linnartz has come deep. Well, the challenge was snapping in there, and the referee was right on the spot. And having given the yellow card early to Bulders, well, he's made a rod for his own back. Clearly not going to allow anything early on. Let's hope the game gets a chance to flow. The Latvians, certainly from their physical presence, are not a side who look as if they want to mix it. Fonseca back defending there. Second header, Alvaro. And up in the air from Sprogis. Now perhaps something developing here into the path of Linnartz, as Zubizarreta came out with some hesitation. And they've conceded a corner. Almost a minor triumph for the locals to celebrate. Not a full house here tonight at the Daugava Stadium, named after the river that runs through this capital city. So what, I wonder, can the home side produce with the left foot of Popkov? And Zubizarreta didn't get there. And Linnartz knows he had a real opportunity there if he'd hit the target.
He most certainly did. That was an excellent opportunity. Zubizarreta has come there for a ball that he's been never going to get, and Linnartz has just got in front of him. Oh, it was so close. If he puts that on target, I think it goes past the lad on the goal line. I think it would go in.
Well, Martin, as a player yourself, of course, and now as a manager, I'm sure one thing you tell defenders week in and week out is do not let men get in front of you in that position. Well,
there are certain things you cannot do. If the corner kick is delivered properly, and like that one was, then there's very little you can do. But you do expect Zubizarreta to become, he's reading it from a long way out. If he comes that distance, he's got to collect it.
As play switches to the other end, the new Valencia man, Alvaro, the number 11, looking for Fonseca, was in there, and so was Baquero. And, well, we said a couple of moments ago, he's got to get on the end of a cross sooner or later. And anxious moments for trainer Yanis Gillis.
Nice ball through, nice little bit of bend of it coming away from the goalkeeper, and your little friend Baquero almost got onto it. So that's a chance gone at each end. But I think Latvia will be the more pleased with the first 15 or 20 minutes of the game. They've done exactly what we talked about before. They've held firm, wee bit of luck, but they've held firm, and now suddenly they're coming into the game themselves a little bit. I personally, I disagree with the tactics of Gillis. I feel that I would have gone more at Spain early on, because they would have been nervous, pressure's on them, and I would have put them under a wee bit more pressure than Latvia have done. Having said that, they're 0-0, and they're still well in the game.
And you've got to get the ball before you can put pressure on your opponents. And at the moment, it's Spain who have it. Played across the back line from Lopez. This is Tony. Number 4, Salathabal. All of them Atletico teammates. That's the score, with a couple of opportunities for Spain and one real clear-cut heading chance for Linnartz as he ran to meet a near-post corner kick from Ivanov. And now they're in behind the Latvians again. And this time it was the number 8, Fonseca. Just getting behind the defender, and the keeper, Karavayev, was out quickly. Fonseca leading scorer at Valladolid for the last 2 seasons. Their relegation forcing his move to Espanyol in the summer. And no need to remind you what he did to England in Santander 14 days ago. That'll be a foul as Lopez goes sprawling. So much as we expected, the match going very much to form, with Yanis Gillis defending in depth, leaving Linards up front as a lone target man. But Spain, I'm sure, will be allowed all the possession they want in the middle of the park. At the moment, Karavayev hasn't had a really serious shot to save, apart from the one, as Martin suggested, he made a little bit of a meal of. Still in play, returned by Lopez, facing his own goal.
This is where I'm talking about here, Phil. You don't actually have to have the ball to put the team under pressure. And I think that they could come out of their shell a little bit more, try and take it off Spain in the middle of the field, so you're giving yourself a wee bit more room. Okay, you're taking the chance that if you pull a player or two out, you're going to have less sitting in there at the back. But Spain eventually will be happy with this sort of play, because they're getting possession, they're getting confidence in their ability to be able to pass the ball, and eventually they'll work a little 1-2 around the Latvian defence and score from it, and Latvia will wonder why they didn't actually push out in the first place. This is where I think they're at home. They're entitled to push men a wee bit more forward, and I think they'll get themselves into trouble eventually if they don't do.
Vizcaíno playing deep. Salathabal with all the time in the world to pick out a red shirt, and there's a foul as the defender comes in from behind. Now, can the side of Javier Clemente produce something from this distance? And the free kick certainly should present some problems, Karavayev, because Spain have enough dead ball specialists in the side to do something from here. Martin Vasquez, my money's on him to give it a blast. Vizcaíno also there. Tony, the man at the moment over the ball. Baquero looking as if he's part of the routine. Now he backs away. And the Latvians have a 6-man wall, but it's defeated them. Karavayev positioned in the right place and comfortably into his arms.
Very little innovative about that free kick. You just expect a wee bit more from the Spaniards.
Perhaps an instruction to test the keeper out early, but he's no slouch, earning his trade in Yugoslavia with the MTK club, as we said, in Belgrade. Just the fullback Shivlikov and up front Linards, who plays in Sweden and in Finland respectively. Apart from that, the other 8 members of the Latvian side, all from the domestic league here. And looking as if Goicoechea has the beating of his man on the far side. He's hauled back by the captain. Alexeyenko concedes a free kick. Spain looking to once again pressure the goal of Latvia from the far side this time. An angle to cross the ball, and Vizcaíno it was with a header that's just wide of the post. Fonseca, the last man up. And trainer Yanis Gillis up on his feet, as he's been since the kickoff, as Fonseca goes close for Spain. We've heard much criticism of England since that defeat, and of course the performances in Sweden, Martin. Let's not go over the old ground there. But I think in years gone by, Spain too have not really known who their best team was to pick, and there's been a lot of factionalism involved as well.
There certainly has, Phil, yeah, but you talked about... I'll just break off here because it's an interesting point you've made, and I can elaborate on it in a second.
We'll see this build-up from Spain, as once again they've got their sights set on testing out Karavayev, and this time Goikachea is wide of the mark. Martin O'Neill.
I'll just go back, Phil. 1982, I was lucky enough to be the captain of Northern Ireland. We had a very, very good World Cup out in Spain. We happened to play the host nation. We beat them 1-0. And I tell you, the temperatures were rising ferociously with the crowd. Afterwards, the team bus had to go around an indirect route to get back to the headquarters, and the press were crushing in their condemnation of them, and it took them an awfully long time to get over that. So we talk about the English giving Taylor a bad time, but let me tell you, the Spanish can lay into their team just equally as badly.
And as we suggested earlier, anything less than a 2 or 3 goal win here would certainly bring down further criticism when these boys come back off the plane from this game. This is more promising now with Martin Vasquez, the most forward position he's taken up. Back for Goikachea, but what was that from the Barcelona man? Hardly the sort of thing we expect from a holder of a European Cup winners medal. And Latvia once again happy to hoof it up towards halfway, but every time Linarts is outnumbered, and back it comes in the red and blue of Spain with Lopez. Centre back tonight. Baquero. Back to goal, can't pick out his Barcelona teammate Goikachea. And misunderstanding there.
I know I'm going to state the obvious. It's a worldwide problem having a quality of cross. You know, people talk about getting to the byline and pulling back decent crosses. But Spain will be looking to get Goikachea down that right-hand side, because I feel that he can have the beating there of his man down there and also get in decent quality crosses. Doesn't look, as I say, I keep going back to the state of the pitch, and perhaps maybe it's not for that. I'm not so sure that despite Baquero's presence, that lobbing in very high balls in there is actually the answer to getting a goal. However, I do think that if Spain could just widen the game out and get a bit of quality from their crossing in, that they will eventually break through. But Latvia, as I say, every single second that goes on while they're sitting there at 0-0, they know that they're well in the game, getting more confidence from the players. They're beginning to understand each other a little bit better, and I personally feel that they can put a wee bit more pressure on the Spaniards themselves.
Well, certainly that was the case against Denmark. They hardly got out of their own half in the first 25 minutes, but having survived an early bombardment, really grew in stature the longer the game went on. And they're well organised at the back, no doubt about that. Trainer Gillis has got them functioning as a defensive unit. He knows he's lightweight up front. They're playing to their strengths, I suppose we have to say. And here, midway through the first half, they hold the mighty Spaniards at 0-0. Spain with Martin Vasquez turning his man, and now can deliver the cross on the favoured left foot. Was that out of play? Yes, it was, says the linesman. Just mentioning the really cutthroat attitude of the Spanish press. They've already been criticised for only beating Albania by 3-0 in their first game. And as we've said, there are no easy games anymore, and 2 or 3 goal results may well be good enough for qualification in Group 3.
I think Clemente is experienced enough to know that that's part and parcel of the job, the criticism that goes with it. I think he'll feel that he's done his job if they make it to America for the World Cup.
They are, of course, the current Olympic champions, gold medal winners in Barcelona this summer. And many of the side who were under 23 for that competition are being drafted now into the national squad, and the bouncing ball at the back post just defeats Baquero, who once again had timed his run to perfection. The Latvians there living on their nerves just for a moment. Certainly it's the crosses coming in from this near side that seem to cause the confusion.
Well, Tony has done brilliantly there, absolutely superb. He's got a brilliant cross in, it's coming away from the goalkeeper again, and we just felt again if Baquero had been able to read it a wee bit better. The ball actually hopped up a little bit there, but the goalkeeper has decided not to come for it, and that's encouraging for Spain and very discouraging for the Latvian defence.
In a forward position on the left side, just for a second, the move breaks down, they regain it with the captain getting forward, Alexeyenko. Now a little more ambition coming in from the Latvians, just as Martin suggested. And an offside flag.
Phil, I'll just go back to the point there that Latvia actually robbed the Spanish player just 10 yards, 15 yards outside the penalty box. That's the first time in this half that they've been able to do that. They actually had 4 or 5 white shirts in close attendance to it, but immediately they've lost possession. They've just dropped back into their hole again.
Bakero tangling with Niedosh. Solid defender, 27 years old. Lanis Niedosh from the reigning champion Skonto Riga. Back quickly to take up position, as once again they've plenty of white shirts in and around the Latvian penalty area. Skonto Riga, the Latvian club side representing their country in European competition this year. They have to come from behind against Lodz of Poland if they're not to go out in the first round of the European Cup. Of course, the gulf between these two nations, both at club and international level, is, well, huge really. The trainer is on something like $50 a week in terms of his salary. The Spaniards would be looking for more than that just in expenses from this game, Martin.
$50 a week, is as much as that?
But entertaining nevertheless in the first half here. Live and exclusive World Cup special on Screen Sport from Riga here tonight. Latvia and Spain in a group which also sees Lithuania tonight taking on the European champions Denmark. And the result of that for you just as soon as we get it. Still 0-0 in this one. And again, if you have just joined us, Latvia in the white shirts, the maroon shorts, and Spain in their traditional red and blue. Just looking down the substitutes for Spain tonight, they don't have what I'd call real cutting edge on the bench should the front two fail to deliver. Amor, Cristobal, he's a defender, Guardiola, a midfield man, and Alfonso. So should they fail to break through, the longer the game goes on, something for Clemente to ponder there. Hasn't got too many options available on the subs bench tonight.
That might be a little bit of an insight into his thinking about the game itself, that he's possibly hoping for the early breakthrough, that Spain can go and settle down and play a nice game and win it, but he's also got the old look over the shoulder in terms of let's not lose this game, because certainly from
Vizcaíno with a shot that was too close to Karavayev, and safe, secure handling once again from the 31-year-old. But I'd like to see this player getting further forward, the 26-year-old Atletico man. Second top scorer for the club last season behind Manolo. For me, he's been playing just a wee bit too deep in the first 30 minutes. Martin Vasquez shows the ball to Stradins, takes it past him. Once again, Latvia have 9 outfield men back in defence. Stradins trying to run the ball forward now into the path of Linarts on the break, and there's no flag, and it's a real danger for Zubizarreta. And forced wide to the byline, couldn't make anything of it. But suddenly there, Latvia were away. And again, it's the number 10, Linarts, the danger man every time.
He's absolutely clear here, Phil. I don't know where the Spanish players have been, but Zubizarreta actually does pretty well. I think if Linarts had decided to go down, he would have got the penalty, but he's pushed the ball a wee bit too far wide, and a couple of Spaniards have got back to head it clear for the corner kick. But a great chance nevertheless, and once again, dangers, and I can see Clemente's off the bench. He's absolutely right. He's furious with him because Linarts was completely through.
And not just Clemente on his feet, the whole stadium there for 1 second. There's 15,000 Latvian hearts in their mouths, hoping their side were about to take the lead, and they do so from the corner. And that one allowed to go an awful long way, Martin O'Neill.
It's come again, and Spain are just a wee bit apprehensive about it. They haven't been able to get the goal themselves. They haven't been put under too much pressure in this first 35 minutes, Phil. And yet, when they have been, Latvia have looked a wee bit dangerous. And as I say, I'm surprised. It'll give Latvia great hope here for the second half. And I reckon that if they're still sitting 0-0, even though they've missed that chance at half-time, then it's great pressure on Spain.
So perhaps they begin to find a little self-belief, the Latvians. And twice now they've come close in the space of a minute. And what a shock that would have been to the Spanish system. And Linart's managed to skip round Zubizarreta there and find the back of the net. Shame for him, there was no support, unable to square the ball. But Zubizarreta doing well, all the experience of 71 caps over 6 years to deny the Latvian marksman the opening goal of the night. Still at 0-0, but now that man, Yanis Gillis, seeing his side survive the early pressure, knows that perhaps they're in with every chance of sneaking another surprise result on home turf.
You mentioned self-belief, and I think that's the key to it all. I think if Latvia had a wee bit more confidence in themselves, a wee bit more self-belief, that they would have taken this game to Spain a lot earlier than they have done. But they'll be encouraged by the annoyance shown there by a couple of the Spanish defenders with themselves and with each other.
Ferrer on the far side, I haven't mentioned him, the Barcelona fullback. A man who was out for a long spell last season with damaged knee ligaments. Just 22. And he's got Goycochea, a teammate, in front of him, so no excuses for any lack of telepathic understanding between those two. Coming towards half-time then, Spain with this throw-in from Tony. Can't find a teammate. And I must say, in this first period, Fonseca has been very disappointing indeed. His league form has left much to be desired since his arrival at Espanyol. Certainly found goal scoring easier at Valladolid. And he, for one, will want to build on the good impression he made against England to hold down that place in a Spanish side missing, as we said, one or two key players here this evening. Looking as if the old guard from Real, Sanchez Chendo, the aging defenders, have been discarded now. The defenders all made up really of Atletico players, but we'd expect to see the likes of Michel and Butragueño coming back for the next game.
Yes, you're talking about Fonseca. I'm always expecting Martin Vasquez to be able to produce something in and around the box. He's an excellent dribbler. He's an excellent footballer when he gets going, but sometimes he allows the game just to bypass him. And in the 90 minutes, you expect just a wee bit of magic from him, and perhaps he might produce it between now and the end.
I know the fans at Real were deeply unhappy with the chairman for selling him to Torino. But a checkered time of it he had in Italy for a couple of years. Now at Olympique Marseille, he's lost his way a little bit in the last couple of years.
Yes, he has, yes. And I was just going to say that
good play from Goycochea, turns his man and the keeper's out to cut out the cross ahead of Fonseca. As for once, Goycochea got the better of captain Alexeyenko on the far side.
That was good goalkeeping by Caraveo.
But I do agree with you, Martin. A player of Martin Vasquez's calibre really should be able to impose himself in a game like this. And a few in the Spanish ranks who are capable of doing that. If they can blend together as a team, that's always been their problem. Now they have a chance once again to measure the cross with Goycochea up in the air from Neros. And just contact with the keeper as Piquero came in, both feet off the ground, and a free kick.
So we're talking about the crosses from Spain. They're coming from two deep positions. They're coming in at the wrong angle. Just feel that they've got to get closer to the byline to whip them back across the goal, even if they're only a foot and a half off the ground or something like that. But throwing balls, high balls in there should be meat and drink for the Latvian defence.
Stereotypical play then from Spain as they continue to have more of the game, but quite clearly, as we're suggesting, they need to find a spark of inspiration as we come towards half-time. And there's nobody feeding off the layoff from Fonseca. Salafabal, but that header was poor. And now picked up by Stradinc. Out to Glazov. Haven't seen much of him for the last 15 minutes. His cross headed out to Baquero. Martin Vasquez unable to trap the ball. Ferrer wanting to find Goycochea on the touchline. The wingers have dropped deep for Spain, and at the moment it's going backwards with Sprogic. So once again, Yanis Gillis, as he did against Denmark, has denied the superior opposition a goal in the first period. And he'd say, well, half the job is done. Certainly, I'm sure he'll be urging his side in the second half to show a little more bravado and perhaps get upfield, support Linarts. And how this new-look Spanish defence would react to some real pressure, well, then we might just see a game in the second half that we hope will provide us with goals at least. Certainly another fascinating reflection as Latvia and the other Baltic states rejoin the international ranks, Martin, that, well, again, when you see a side that didn't exist 18 months ago, many of their players were playing in the old Soviet League, and here they are taking on the Spanish ambassadors, and more than holding their own, we have to say. More than holding their own, and as they're all right, they got well and truly thumped by the Republic of Ireland eventually, but they'll have taken great heart from that 0-0 draw against Denmark, and they'll feel that they're just getting their way along. They're seeing themselves doing not too badly. They're beginning to play with a wee bit of confidence, a couple of little 1-2s, I feel, in rather dangerous positions for themselves anyway, or too far back. But if they could just get a wee bit more help to Linarts, I think they could cause Spain some problems. Clemente now subdued. He was on his feet 10 minutes ago when Linarts threatened to open the scoring. And that's the man who Latvia hope sincerely won't be handicapped by any knock he might have taken there. Just limping around. Well, he'll be in the dressing room in a couple of minutes and with a chance to run that knock off. Popkov goes down on the far side. Referee Roger Filippi has had a fairly quiet first 44 minutes or so, just the one booking against the name of Bulders, the Latvian player, for bringing down Vizcaíno. Now perhaps the last chance for Latvia to fashion something. The goal right now really would set the compact stadium here alight. 17,000 the capacity, not quite that here this evening. And it's quite a brisk night on the Baltic. The pitch has taken some moisture in the past couple of days, and I should think that's helped the players. When we were here a month ago, as Martin was saying, after the summer months it was hard and quite bumpy, and certainly not the sort of surface that international players enjoy. I still feel it hasn't recovered. It's still looking pretty bumpy, and Spanish players won't be too happy about it, especially those who are playing the Nou Camp every other week. I think they'll feel a wee bit of a difference. That's for sure. One of the finest playing surfaces in European football. And certainly this pitch a lot narrower than the Nou Camp. And that may be inhibiting the wing play of Goycochea in this first half. He's been subdued. Alvaro has seen little of the ball. Fonseca has really been non-existent up front. Baquero has figured in most of the good play we've seen from Spain. A couple of long-range efforts as well from Vizcaíno, Martin Vasquez. And that has been about it in the first half from Javier Clemente's side as we enter injury time at the end of the first period. And poor Linarts there. Well, it's his misfortune to have been born in Latvia. If they had a couple more like him in the starting lineup, then Latvia could just be producing a few fireworks here. The player goes down, but there's no whistle, and safe into the hands of the keeper, who didn't play in Dublin. Worth mentioning that point, because he's really handled everything that's come his way in the first half with great security.
Yes, he has. I thought he had a dodgy moment with the very first cross that came in, or in fact the shot that came in. I thought he could have done a wee bit better, but since then he's handled everything expertly.
Their way back to the keeper, of course, with the new ruling. The Latvians looking to play their way out of trouble, and once again they've got away with it.
I think as the half draws in, I think Spain will have to regroup and have a rethink about this. They haven't put Latvia under a great deal of pressure at the end of it all. They've had plenty of possession, they've done a few things here and there, but generally speaking, Phil, they'll be disappointed with their 45 minutes play.
So the half-time position here, live pictures coming to you from Riga in this World Cup special. The Group C game between Latvia and Spain. It's goalless at the break. Latvia incredibly having